The heavy steel blade of a flathead shovel bites into the frozen crust of a Montana field, the sharp metallic ring echoing against the silent white expanse of a January morning. Underneath, 6 inches of powdery snow and a 2-inch layer of frost-locked topsoil lies the greatest battery ever designed, a massive, silent thermal engine that requires no copper wiring and no monthly utility bill. It is the Earth itself, while the wind chill factor drops the ambient temperature to 20 degrees below zero, sucking the life out of every exposed leaf and brittle branch, just 8 feet below the surface. The world is different. Down there, held in the dark embrace of the soil, the temperature remains a constant, stubborn 55 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the foundation of a subterranean revolution, a way to grow heavy, juice-laden lemons and thick-skinned navel oranges in a climate that should, by all laws of nature, kill them within an hour. This is not a high-tech laboratory or a glass skyscraper powered by a grid of spinning turbines. This is a hole in the ground, a trench dug with sweat and a rented backhoe, lined with the kind of rough-cut lumber and salvaged stone you can find at any local scrapyard or homestead. The air inside this trench smells of damp loam, crushed mint, and the faint, sweet citrus spray of a ripening fruit. To step down the wooden stairs into this sunken sanctuary is to leave the American winter behind and enter a microclimate that feels like a Tuesday afternoon in Southern California. The sun hits the polycarbonate roofing at a precise 35-degree angle, designed to capture every possible photon during the short, weak days of the winter solstice. The first pillar of this independence is the concept of thermal mass, and it starts with the most humble of objects, the 55-gallon high-density polyethylene drum. These blue plastic barrels, scavenged from a local food processor, are filled to the brim with 450 pounds of common well water. They are painted a matte, coal-black color to drink in the ultraviolet rays of the sun. During the day, as the sunlight pours through the south-facing roof, these barrels sit silently against the north wall, absorbing heat. They do not move, they do not make a sound, but they are charging. By 4 in the afternoon, when the sun begins to dip behind the jagged silhouette of the tree line, each barrel has become a radiator. As the outside temperature plummets toward the single digits, the water inside these drums slowly but grudgingly releases its stored energy back into the greenhouse air. Touch the side of a barrel in the middle of a blizzard. It feels like the warm shoulder of a workhorse. This is the heat of the previous day, recycled and held captive to protect the fragile white blossoms of a Meyer lemon tree. These trees are not the spindly, pampered ornaments found in a suburban sunroom. They are anchored in 2 feet of rich, black compost mixed with coarse builder's sand for drainage. Their roots reach deep into the floor of the trench, tapping into the natural geothermal warmth of the planet. The leaves are a deep, waxy emerald, thick enough to resist the occasional stray draft, and they vibrate with a hidden energy. When you crush a leaf between your thumb and forefinger, the scent is oily and sharp, a biological middle finger to the ice storm raging just 3 feet above the roofline. The second system relies on the sheer weight and density of the earth itself, utilizing a technique known as the wallapini, or the pit greenhouse. By digging the floor of the structure 6 to 8 feet below the frost line, the homesteader is effectively wrapping the growing space in a massive, thick blanket of soil. The walls are not thin siding or airy drywall, they are rammed earth and stacked stone. Imagine a wall built from 300 individual limestone rocks, each weighing 20 pounds, hauled by hand from the back of a rusted pickup truck. These stones are rough to the touch, cold in the palm when first pulled from the ground, but once they are set into the north wall of the underground greenhouse, they become a secondary thermal battery. Between the stones, a mortar of lime and sand provides a breathable seal. This wall does more than hold up the roof. It acts as a heat sink with a massive storage capacity. It regulates the humidity, absorbing excess moisture during the damp morning hours and releasing it back as the air dries out. The sound in here is muffled, a heavy, quiet stillness that makes you realize how loud the modern world really is. There's no humming of an electric heater, no clicking of a thermostat, only the occasional drip of condensation falling from a support beam onto a mulch bed of cedar chips. These chips, spread 4 inches thick across the walking path, provide a soft, springy floor that smells of a mountain forest and prevents the soil from compacting under the weight of a pair of leather work boots. The roof is the only part of the structure that interacts with the harsh reality of the American Midwest or the high Rockies. It is constructed from twin-wall polycarbonate sheets, lightweight yet incredibly durable, capable of withstanding the impact of a 1-inch hailstone or the weight of a 12-inch snowfall. The angle is the secret. By tilting the glass toward the southern horizon at a slope calculated by adding 15 degrees to the local latitude, the greenhouse reflects the high, hot sun of the summer to prevent overheating while welcoming the low, weak sun of the winter. It is a passive, mechanical filter. Inside, the ventilation is handled by a simple, gravity-fed air tube. A 4-inch diameter PVC pipe, buried 20 feet deep into the surrounding hillside, enters the greenhouse at the floor level. As the warm air inside the structure rises and escapes through a small vent in the roof, it creates a natural vacuum. This pulls fresh air through the buried pipe. Because the pipe is buried deep in the earth, the air entering the greenhouse is preheated to 50 degrees, even if the air at the intake outside is a lethal 0. It is a lung that breathes with the rhythm of the planet. There are no fans to break, no bearings to grease, and no electrical shorts to worry about during a midnight thunderstorm. Growing food here is an act of defiance. In the center of the trench stands a Washington navel orange tree, its trunk 3 inches thick and scarred from its early years in a nursery pot. Now, it thrives in the ground, its branches heavy with fruit the size of softballs. Each orange weighs nearly a pound, its skin pebbled and bright, glowing like a small sun in the subterranean shadows. When you peel one, the zest sprays a fine mist of aromatic oils into the air, a scent so potent it clears the sinuses and reminds the soul that spring is not a season, but a condition you can create with a shovel and a bit of physics. This is the first 1,000 words of a story about reclaiming the ability to feed oneself, regardless of what the thermometer says or what the grocery store charges. The third system, and perhaps the most overlooked, is the biology of the floor itself, the living thermal mass of the compost trench. Along the back wall, behind the row of black water barrels, sits a 3-foot-deep pit filled with a mixture of shredded oak leaves, straw, and aged manure from a neighbor's stable. This is not just a waste pile, it is a slow combustion engine. As the microbial life within this organic matter breaks down the carbon and nitrogen, the friction of their existence creates a steady, reliable heat. Stick a long-stemmed compost thermometer into the center of this pile on a February night, and the needle will climb to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. This heat rises from the floor, bathing the lower branches of the citrus trees in a warm, moist updraft that mimics the tropical forest floor. The smell is earthy and rich, a deep fungal musk that signals the presence of millions of beneficial bacteria working in silence to turn last year's yard waste into next year's fertilizer. This biological furnace works in perfect synergy with the structural components. While the water barrels handle the rapid swings of the daytime sun, the compost trench provides a baseline, a low-voltage hum of warmth that never turns off. To maintain this, the homesteader spends 20 minutes a week with a pitchfork, turning the top layer to introduce oxygen. The weight of the fork is balanced, the tines polished silver from years of sliding through grit and straw. Every thrust into the pile releases a plume of white steam that hangs in the air, a visible ghost of the energy being liberated from the earth. This is the ultimate cycle of a sovereign homestead. The waste from the yard feeds the trees feed the family, and the family provides the labor to keep the cycle spinning. The synergy between these systems creates a microclimate that is more stable than many modern homes. During a 3-day blizzard, when the power lines are heavy with ice and the wind screams through the eaves of the main house, the underground greenhouse remains a pocket of absolute stillness. The thick earthen walls dampen the sound of the storm until it is nothing more than a faint, rhythmic thrumming. Inside, the Meyer lemon trees are covered in delicate white blossoms, each one less than an inch wide with 5 waxy petals and a cluster of yellow stamens at the center. The fragrance is overwhelming, a concentrated, honey-sweet perfume that feels heavy on the tongue. In this environment, a single tree can produce 40 pounds of fruit in a season, each lemon a bright, yellow teardrop shape with a skin so thin you can eat it like an apple. Implementation of this system is not a matter of complex mathematics, but of observation. A small family can begin by marking out a rectangle 20 feet long by 12 feet wide, oriented perfectly toward the southern sun. The digging is the hardest part, a physical rite of passage that connects the builder to the geography of their home. Every stone pulled from the trench is a resource. Large, flat slabs are saved for the floor to act as thermal paving stones, while smaller, jagged rocks are used to backfill the drainage layer. Drainage is the silent partner in this success. Below the 2 feet of growing soil sits a 6-inch layer of coarse river gravel, a bed of smooth gray stones that ensures the citrus roots never sit in stagnant water. Without this, the cold dampness of the deep earth would rot the very trees you're trying to save. To walk into this space in the middle of a sub-zero cold snap is to experience a shift in reality. You leave behind the heavy wool coats, the cracked skin of winter, and the gray monochromatic landscape. You step down into a world of vibrant color. The deep orange of a ripening satsuma, the vibrant purple of a stray lavender bush planted in the corner to deter aphids, and the dark, wet brown of the nutrient-rich soil. This is not a hobby, it is a strategic asset. While the price of store-bought produce fluctuates with the cost of diesel and the stability of distant supply chains, the cost of an orange from an underground greenhouse is measured only in the sweat it took to turn the compost and the patience it took to wait for the harvest. The final layer of this independence is the seed. Unlike the sterile, hybridized fruit found in the grocery store aisles, these are heritage varieties selected for their vigor and their ability to thrive in a subterranean environment. A bear's lime tree, its branches covered in sharp protective thorns, stands near the entrance. Its fruit is small, seedless, and packed with an acidic juice that can preserve meat or brighten a winter meal. By saving the seeds of the hardiest plants that survive the coldest nights, the homesteader is engaged in a localized form of evolution, breeding a strain of citrus that belongs specifically to their piece of land, their specific soil, and their specific latitude. The sovereign living philosophy is not about retreating from the world. It is about building a better one from the ground up, or in this case, from the ground down. It is the realization that the most sophisticated technology we possess is the 3 billion years of biological engineering already present in a handful of dirt. By aligning ourselves with the thermal laws of the planet, we remove the middleman. We stop being consumers and start being creators. The underground greenhouse is a testament to the fact that security is not something you buy. It is something you build with a shovel, a stack of stone, and the audacity to believe that you can grow a Mediterranean grove in the heart of a frozen wilderness. As the sun sets over the snowy ridge, the black barrels inside the trench begin their night shift, radiating the day's warmth back into the leaves. The homesteader climbs the stairs, shuts the insulated hatch, and walks back across the frozen yard. Behind them, buried beneath the frost, the citrus trees continue to grow in the dark, silent and protected. They are waiting for the morning, fueled by the earth, shielded by the stone, and owned by no one but the person who planted them. This is the quiet power of the earth. This is the path to a life that is truly, fundamentally free.